Okay, the next day is the Uranian day, and it is 7 of Peter's big days. If I've interpreted that correctly, it would be 7 times 365 million, or 2.55 billion years ago, and that has a really neat correlation. The iron deposits that were formed all over the world were formed then. So that's and then if you take 6 of them, then you get back to the beginning flash of the let there be light. The first plants that the scientists tell us that were created were algae. Of course, they don't say it was created; they say it was evolved. But the first plants that our fossil records show were algae, and they created after their kind. They more or less cloned themselves and just really didn't have sexual reproduction. In the Huronian time, the canopy of the earth, the canopy that covered the earth, the clouds, must have parted then, because there was an increase in photosynthesis upon the earth. What the light was then, it wasn't a seasonal light. It could have came from the galaxies or a star cluster or some other phenomenon that I don't know of. But anyway, the light before the Permian time was different than the light of the sun, moon, and stars. All the scriptures that I know of that are written for the world indicate that the sun, moon, and stars weren't formed until the 4th day, and this is the 3rd day. The things that liked lesser light or kind of twilight thrive then, like bugs and the trilobites of the sea, the cockroaches, 2-foot dragonflies. I imagine what the mosquitoes were like. The frogs and the ferns were the type of things that thrived then. The greatest coal ages of the earth were near the end of that period. They were made by ferns and vegetation that wasn't flowering, and they had no annual tree rings. So, and the coal deposits were deposited about 650 million years ago. Okay, let's go to the third nest. The time is Permian time. And I believe the scriptures say that God created the lights in heaven, the lesser light to rule the night and the greater light to rule the day, and the stars also. And I'm thinking the lesser light is the moon, and the greater light is the sun and the stars. And in this picture, we had to figure out how to get the sun, moon, and stars all in one picture, and so we've got it early in the morning, just as the day is breaking. There's many evidences geologically that show that the sun was created or the earth was organized to rotate around the sun at this time. Before then, the tree rings weren't. There was no seasons on earth before the sun, moon, and stars were created. It was I think like a greenhouse with the light coming from all directions at once. The third nest of creation, or the Permian nest, matches Peter's big days. It's 255 million years ago, which is a tenth of the 2.55 billion years ago for the Huronian let there be light. At the Permian time, there was great extinctions. Most of life was destroyed. In the Mormon scripture, the book of Abraham, it says, and the gods watched until they obeyed. And that, to me, that means it wasn't just a slam dunk. It was a little bit hard to get the earth orbiting around the sun in a way that didn't destroy all life. My son Stanley was asking a question, where was the sun, moon, and stars in the time before they were created in the 4th day, or where was the earth? That's a good question. I don't know for sure what the light source was. Geological record is interesting. The periods of extinction and glaciations were much farther apart before the Permian time, and after the Permian time, the glaciation and the extinctions were closer together and not as severe as the Permian extinction. The Permian extinction was by far the greatest extinction there was, and after that there were tree rings. And I seen a program, and it showed a reef down by Carlsbad Caverns, and in that Permian reef there was really great preservation in the fossils there. The people that were studying it figured that the water reefs grew 4 times as deep as they did now because of the preservation of the fine fossils. And I think it was because the seasons weren't not yet the way they are now. They were much milder seasons. Back at the Permian time, about the time the sun, moon, and stars were organized around the Earth, the South Pole apparently had great glaciers on it, while the northern hemisphere and on up was a mild climate. The same climates never changed yearly on any parts of the Earth till after the Permian time, and it's possible the light source for the Earth before then was Kolob. Cleon Skousen thinks that the Earth was moved from Kolob to its present location at the time of Adam and Eve fell. This would have been much earlier than that, but it's possible that 255 million years ago, when the Permian time was, that the Earth was close to one of the places in the galactic arms where the stars were much closer together. We're not told where it was, but we can see the definite changes in the fossilization and the things that were created on the Earth in that time. The amphibians and the things that like the dark only survived in part into the past the Permian and into the Mesozoic period. They were most of them were extinct, but now the dinosaurs and the lizard things, the things that can live when more heat and lay their eggs away from water, were the ones that survived and thrived in the Mesozoic period. And the waters were divided from the waters. There were water-loving lizards, dinosaurs, and the pterodactyls, the lizard-type things that flew in the air. And then towards the end of that period, the dinosaurs were wiped out about Cretaceous time, and then the mammals survived and thrived. Then, and also the flowering plants began to dominate the earth then, and that's also in the third period, in that period which matches back to the flowering plants mentioned in the third period of creation. And if you go to the flowering plants of the second nesting period, they were the fruit of the, well, it says the fruit in its kind, and the fruit of the plants in the second nesting period were the little ferns that are a different, they're like a living seed of the big ferns. And if you go back to the first nesting period, the algae had seed, right after itself. And so as the levels of the plants increased, the level of the diversity of the way that they produce is increased, and by the time you get to flowering plants, there's nice edible fruit along many of them. And so that's one of the blessings God gave man and animals, was the flowering plants of the third day and of the sixth day. On the sixth day, it said, and he created man in his own image, and after his image he created them, male and female created he them, and it said to give him dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowls of the air, and over the other things that lived on the earth. And to me, that describes the evolution of man. And with my studying of the Hebrew language, I realized that Edom and Adam are the same word. It's just that Esau's two names together means to make Adam. And really the people of the sixth creative nest, I don't think they were like us. I think they were different than us. I think that they were created to have dominion over the fish and over the fowl and over the other creeping things, and yet I would call them Edom, which is exactly the way you spell Adam, except now in the last millennia we have used in the Hebrew they've put vowels points in there to make the difference between Edom and Adam, and so it's clear. Before the last 1,000 years, things were more passed on by mouth instead of, well, by mouth and written words together. And so what was Esau like? Well, he was hairy and a hunter and probably a really strong guy. And for God to make man after his image, well, Jacob became Israel, and Israel is more like most of us modern men, not hairy like a goat. Edom or Esau was hairy, strong, and he probably wasn't very religious. He probably wasn't very spiritual. I think that his names together suggested that's the way they made Adam or Adam and Eve. And the time break of Adam and Eve, I think, is a great break. I believe Adam was probably about 6,000 years ago, and then our that would be 6 of Peter's first days. One day is 1,000 years to the Lord, and 1,000 years is a day. And then the days before that, I think, were the bigger days. 255 million for the sun, moon, and stars, and 2.55 billion for the Huronian Let There Be Light, and approximately 6 times 2.55 billion for the Let There Be Light. They're still getting the Hubble telescope and other telescopes to look back further in time. But at Adam and Eve, there was a great change there, and Adam was the first man to receive a soul, and I think all the creations before then were somehow different. I don't understand the exact difference, but the time changes were different then, and Adam and Eve were the first ones. I think when Eve partook of the fruit, then time began in the way that we understand it now. Let's go on with Adam and Eve. We've got kind of, on this picture here, we have kind of the caveman, having dominion over the fish in the corner. We have Adam and Eve after the taking of the fruit. That was the Let There Be Light. In this story, they knew good from evil after they partook of the fruit. I call it the time of Eve because I think Eve started time by partaking of the fruit. The waters separated from the waters in this painting. It says in some of the scriptures he created all the children of men, and yet not a man to till the ground. And from what the Bible says, that Cain was the first man to till the ground, and I suppose he had a hole with a flint or obsidian point on the edge, to till the ground, and that could have been the tool that he used to kill his brother Abel. And after that, he was cast out to roam the earth. That was a separation of the good and evil. And after Abel was killed, Seth took his place, and the righteous seed prevailed until Noah's flood. And then there was not very many righteous at Noah's flood, and God had to destroy the earth again. And